The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to another edition of Table Topics. Carlos, we're back again.
Yes, thank you, John, once again to meet up and have another discussion, another half an hour that I'm pretty sure that goes fast. So on the entering, we had no sound, so I hope that right now our sound it's on, and that's something that our technician right there, Michelle, could take a closer look, make sure we had the sound on.
Yeah.
So I would like to talk to you a little bit today about local stuff, but it's something that's been on the news, and it's something that we actually never touch on, is the Ukraine situation now. And I think as the days go by, I don't know if the thing's getting worse or if the thing's getting, from one side of the border we hear one thing, from the other side of the border we're hearing another thing. So what is your?
Well, my feeling is we should never be over there. Mm-hmm. I don't understand, whatever your politics are, 4 years. The prior 4 years, the prior president, we were never in any kind of conflict. Mm-hmm. Now, swing back to 2014, the Ukraine had what they call a color revolution, and we were involved in that back in 2014. So there were issues in the Ukraine in 2014, and this current president was the vice president, and now we're in this situation. Ukraine, we really need to keep out of. They're a very corrupt country, very, very corrupt, and I just don't understand why we're getting involved in this. Mm-hmm. There is a lot that the American people don't understand about what's going on. Ukraine, they want to be part of NATO, mm-hmm. and it's basically putting Cuba on the Mexican border and having all their weapons there. We wouldn't like that. So the Russian people don't like that. So I don't understand why there is a big push to do this now. Why aren't we just backing off behind that? I mean, it's kind of like, again, whatever your politics are, the last president would say, something like, say, Putin. Well, we do things just as badly. We do, but it's our own country, so we forget about the bad things that we've done mm-hmm. along the way. They're not perfect there at all, but I did like. One time Putin was being talked to by the U.S., and I don't know who it was. It might have been Biden that was there, or reporters. And they were like, you have that person in confinement. He was against you. Mm-hmm. Well, whether people know it or not, or whether they think whatever or not, we had people that were in the January 6th thing was not right. However, there are still 50 to 60 people that are in prison that have not had a trial, and they mm-hmm. have been not granted bail. So you could also, like Putin was saying, they're political prisoners. Why haven't they been charged? Why haven't they been given bail? We have a gentleman the other day that was running for city council in Louisville, Kentucky. And there was also a gentleman that was running for mayor. And the city councilman went in and shot at the mayoral candidate. Do you know that man is already out of jail on bail? Mm-hmm. Attempted assassination of somebody that was running for a mayor. And he was given money through a GoFundMe site mm-hmm. for bail. Mm-hmm. So we can't have it both ways.
I mean, I think that the reason that we are involved on Ukraine is because of NATO. Being part of NATO put us automatically, involved with. Now, we are not the only ones getting involved. Yeah. Again, all the other countries,
What are the other countries? The UK.
Well, the one thing that we need to agree is the other countries don't have the force that we have.
Yeah.
Don't have,
I agree, but
the power that we have. So that's why we jump right in front of every other country.
But they have the money, Carlos. And like I said, whether people like it or not, under Trump, people are giving their fair share, with the exception of Germany. Germany is the richest country, as you're aware, in Europe, and they never give their fair share of monies to NATO. Why are they not held accountable? They're the ones that are getting 30% of their oil and their gas from Russia. So do you think they're really going to come out and, you know what I mean?
Well, another thing on this Ukraine, and the reason, one of the reasons that Putin wants Ukraine back is because, according to him, the majority of the citizens speak Russian. Well, that is not a reason. Yeah. As a Portuguese citizen that I still am, I have both. So, as my Portuguese side says, this is the same thing as Portugal say, okay, let's get Angola back, or you know what I'm saying? Because it was part of Portugal, majority still speaks Portuguese. Yeah. So let's get Angola back to Portugal. That's not a reason.
I think it's been pushed because of this whole NATO thing. Now, the provinces that he just took back, Putin just took back, those are majority Russian-speaking, Russian people in those areas. So when the Soviet Union collapsed, they all separated all these different areas. And what they're showing is the shelling. They've been shelling and fighting. Those two areas have been fighting Ukraine for years. So, and a lot of people in those areas left to go into Russia. They're refugees now in Russia. So there's so much that we don't know because our media doesn't tell us the truth. You know what I mean?
Well, and just like America, we had countries that got the independent and they got out of leadership. Can you imagine, just because they speak English, that we're going to say, okay, we're going to invite it and we're going to get them back?
Yeah, that's
not a reason.
No, that's not the reason. However, again, this is really, if we were to go in and say we're not going to accept them through NATO, this would all be dropped. This would all be dropped. But for some reason, we're pushing this, and I don't understand why. I kind of do, to a point, and I listen to a lot of financial people, and there's a term that comes out right now. People don't realize the financial issues that we have in this country. We're over $30 trillion. So when all else fails, what happens? They bring you to war. And look at history. World War II, the stock market, super high, and we went to World War II and then straightened this out. Because there are the financial issues in this country, and the world, for that matter, we are in a lot of trouble.
Well, and for those that say, nothing's going to come out of this, he's going to back out at the last minute. I see Putin as an investor that invests on his company. You're not going to put up money and try to organize yourself, spend money to back out at the last minute. Either you go forward and you invest the money and you follow through, or you don't even bother, or you stay back. And for him to be investing time and money and people, I don't see him just turning around, the last day and say, okay, everybody goes home now. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense.
I hear you, Carlos, but I don't really trust any media. I watch the media in Russia. There's a Russian thing you can get. I watch the news in Europe, and not everybody, they all tell their own side to fit their narrative, so I don't totally trust the American media, and we'll talk about this, I'll just talk about it later on, about Canada, trusting their media as well. Yeah. So I don't know what this is, there's always, why do things happen? There's this old movie, the dog, or the tail wags the dog, or whatever, trying to this is what's going on here. Let's put this up because this is going on and we don't want people to know about it. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of that stuff going on right now. You know what I mean? Housing is at an all-time high. The stock market is at an all-time high. How is it? How is it at an all-time high when we're $30 trillion in debt? So there's all these different things going on.
So jumping from Ukraine to COVID. So we still have a little bit of pushback.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to stop masks,
Yeah.
you know, move on. If you want to get vaccinated, you get vaccinated. We're already up on 70% or 75% of population. Their goal, it's 80, but guess what? So far, we got on the 70s. So let's drop the masks, and let's drop the vaccinations. Let's move on. But you have those pushback, and they don't come from the government now.
Yeah, there's people that are that way. But people, unfortunately, Carlos, we know. All you have to do is look at these websites. Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts, the average age of a COVID death is 75 years old. The life expectancy is what, 76 years old, 77? So we already know that people are the elderly, they're more at risk for any disease. So we shut down this whole country, and this was interesting because when you talk to folks, if you don't quote a liberal publication, people don't believe you. You know what I mean? It's got to be a mainstream. So the New York Times had an article that came out that said the CDC, government agency, was not giving all the statistics with COVID. So, and their rationale was because we didn't want people to exploit the statistics and say the vaccine's bad. We're not adult enough as Americans to look at both sides of things and say, this is right for me, this may not be right for you. So as someone that had to take the vaccine, like a lot of people, I was coerced into it. I've told my boss that. I did not want to do it, but it was like, you do it or you lose your job. So you're basically pushed into doing it. Now, why wasn't I able to look at this can happen or this can happen if you don't take it? Well, if I knew the risks, and some of the risks are that you can have an inflammation of the heart. Well, I had COVID like you did. I was sick for 2 days. So I would probably be more willing to take the chance than have something happen to my heart or something that they don't know about what's going to happen down the road. But we weren't allowed that, and the CDC was not telling the truth.
And we had a chance to talk about this in previous shows.
Yep.
Every medication has side effects. Every single one.
Exactly.
Some of them are even deadly.
Yeah.
Side effects. Okay. So we know that a vaccine, it is a medication.
Yep.
So we know that it has to come with side effects. So why you want to hide the side effects when we know they're there?
Yeah.
We just want to find out from ourselves what the side effects going to be.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, I believe at the beginning was something new that we had no information on. You know, they were trying to do their best to prevent us to getting, you know, getting the COVID and everything.
They were scaring us.
Yes, but because they were scared, they were running scared too, because they didn't know what and how you could get, how fast you could get, how you could survive. So everything was new. But we came over the hill, and when we came over the hill, they keep pushing that top hill higher, and keep pushing us climbing more and climbing more. That's when I say, you know, enough is enough. That's when a person that we know that being preventing getting COVID because you could die from, they could not get the vaccine because they could die from it. And when they keep pushing that top, these people had no other way without forced to get the vaccine and die from the vaccine.
And that's the thing. I believe 21,000 people have died in this country from the vaccine. Okay, so whatever, you know, people are like, well, that's the chance you take. Well, that's fine, but if it's your family member, that's a big deal to you. You know. No,
it's something. It's something that you're gonna get. But guess what? If I'm taking this pill, I know my chances, and I know that could happen. Now I'm taking a vaccine that I don't know what my chances are, and I don't know how sick I can get from. So that's the difference when they. That's why when they at beginning, they set that top. I had no problem climbing it up into that top.
I don't think
when I got there and they keep pushing that top higher, that's when I start getting my problems.
And no, you're right. Well, you know what's interesting too is there were, and this will eventually, I'm sure, come out. I hope this isn't what I think it is, but there were a lot of medicines before that they could have treated, and one of them is ivermectin. And you know, the CDC, that's not helpful. You want that Residol or whatever the medicine is. Isn't it interesting? Over the weekend, Queen Elizabeth in England, right, came down with COVID, and she was doing an interview, and guess what she was treated with? Ivermectin. Isn't that amazing? So
no bleach though.
No bleach. You know what I mean? But it's, to me, my thing is, if you're not truthful to people, you lose it. So I'm going to just swing one thing because I know our time is running quick. But Canada, during the weekend, the Prime Minister there said all these people are going to get out of here. This is disrupting the economy. I watched a lot of that. There were people that got fired from their jobs because they would not take the vaccine. So they didn't have anything to lose at this point, you know? But there was an incident that I didn't see at the I saw what was happening, but I didn't see the other end. So there was an older woman that was in one of those, like, you know, it's not an automated cart, but you see them in the store, they walk, they're walkers, and they can sit on them. So there was a woman that a horse ran over with this other guy. And the police were telling the media, and their media is worse than, because I was watching stuff live with people, and the media, the CBC, was saying totally different information. So they were like, somebody threw a bike in where the horses were. All the coverage I saw, I never saw a bicycle. The 3 or 4 hours I saw over the weekend, never saw a bicycle. And then there was a picture that somebody had posted online, and it's the older woman laying, and the horse is over here. She's laying on the ground. The horse is almost hitting another guy. And they said that never happened. They never happened. Then later on, they're saying, well, it did happen. They knew it happened. They saw it was right there. They see people were getting punched. They were pushing people, and they were taking the people, and they were beating the hell out of them right on camera. There was another video where there were these people in a store. It was a restaurant, and the cops were banging on the door, let us in, let us in. He's like, this is my own private business. We're gonna break your windows, and we're gonna take your license away. The police have no right to do that. You know what I mean? But and now, the Parliament, which I'm totally amazed that anybody that was involved in giving money or was involved in that, they're being charged. They're freezing people's bank accounts. A lady gave $50 and they froze her bank account for that. What is this, Canada? And it's amazing because I was listening to people that came from Romania and different former communist countries, and they're like, we left this and we see it happening there. Where do we go? So can you imagine living in a communist country like, say, Romania, where they had nothing, they had to restate the currency, then you come to Canada and they're doing the same exact thing? It must be like a nightmare. And, you know, if we look, they're right over the border. If people don't think that can happen here, you're in for a rude awakening. You know what I mean? That will happen here. There are so many things that now are coming out. And all you have to do is watch the Congress. They're pushing for a digital currency, a digital dollar, which they already have in China. So it's like everything's on your phone, right? So when that happens, what happens? You go through a light, comes right off your thing. Or if you go to a protest like the Canadians did, we're going to take money, we're going to freeze your account so you can't buy food now. So it's all coming. You know what I mean? People don't see that it's coming. You know what I mean? This, you know, it's amazing to me, but I don't know. Well, call me crazy, Carlos.
The last 5 minutes. No.
I know, we have a city council meeting tonight.
Yes, we have a city council meeting tonight. On the agenda is a couple of positions again.
Yes. Tourism director,
one
right?
Of them, one it's for $85,000 and one it's for $165,000.
Which jobs are those?
I think Madeline Coelho
It's going to make
retired.
160?
She retired.
Oh, okay.
And so I think her replacement
Yeah.
is for 165,000.
100? Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I've worked in that field, and that you know what I mean. That she wasn't making that much. I think she was making 90,000.
Yeah, but
You know what I
the
mean?
new contracts now,
Yeah,
has to be
that's ridiculous.
has to be more than this
No,
and less than this.
that's
So guess what?
way-
We're going to go into the last dollar.
That's way too high for the
but
public sector.
Let's see what City Council is gonna do, and it's gonna.
That's way too high.
It's going to do. Another thing on the agenda and the presentation today, and I would like to get your opinion, is on the Diman.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Diman has a very good reputation. A lot of kids want to go there. I don't want to pay for something more that we have Durfee. We're paying for that. But I'd much rather have funded the new Diman as opposed to the Durfee. And I'm somebody that went to Durfee.
It was opposite.
Yeah, I'd rather see
First,
opposite.
Diman should have come first.
Yeah, and I say that because if you go to Diman, and my daughter went to Diman, you go there, the school was built in like the 60s or the 50s, and the building was in better shape than Durfee, the old Durfee. And I'm sure in 15 years it's still going to be in better shape than the new Durfee because the city does not take care of its properties. We don't take care of it properly.
The Durfee, I was very vocal about. I participated in a couple of meetings, and I expressed my opinion, and I was against for the reason that at the time Sean Cadine had a motion because he wanted to show that we could build this, could fix it or
yeah,
bought
it'd be
it,
better
or
to fix it
build
because we couldn't afford it, really. Yeah.
with money without going into the taxpayers' pockets.
Yep.
So on this new school, I want to see what the city councils have to say, if they still have the same opinion.
Yeah.
And believe me, I'm all about education. I love school myself. I still putting my daughter through college still. She's done with BCC. She's UMass Dartmouth. So I'm all about education.
Yeah.
But if I get broke, my daughter won't get an education.
Yeah.
The city will get a new building, but she won't get education. So that's why we need to be very careful moving forward. We already have a big bill coming that we don't know how much it was going to cost us.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about another bill on top of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's happened, Carlos, at least with like the Durfee, we would always hear the stories, well, our kids deserve exactly what kids in Newton, wherever. And I totally agree with that. However, if it's you and I and you make $200,000 a year and I'm making 60, I should, you know what I mean? We're not different at all, but you make more money than me. So I can't go out and buy a Land Rover. I have to buy a Kia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't understand why we can't look at it that way, that we have to get the best we can for what we can afford.
For them to pass it, that's the excuses. It's just like the jobs, if we don't want the employees to leave for other cities, other communities, we have to pay more money. Well, the other communities can. We cannot pay more money than we pay.
Yeah,
okay? So, it has to be a balance. It has to be a balance. If the person is really all about money, but hey, guess what? Go for where you can get the most. Yeah. But if you about your community, if you about your city that you grow up, if you about the city that your parents brought you, right? You're not going to look as much as money, because on your life and on my life, sometimes we have to choose jobs. And I know and not always go for the job that pays me better. Yeah. It's a lot of things that I think about. How transportation, how I'm going to go there, what hours I'm going to be working. Do I have the weekends off to be with my family? So it's a lot of things. Money, it's not always a priority for me to get a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Yeah. So everything else coming from the city council, they should look at it the same way.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely. I mean, yeah. when we're going to be paying people more than what the mayor makes, that's an issue. You know what I mean? So it's, yeah, it's just ridiculous. Why would we hire someone, like you gave me an example of the HR director? I believe she made 90 to 100,000. Why in God's name would we be hiring someone that's already in that office?
She's there for what, 15 years?
Yeah, and yet she was there for a while, but we're going to hire somebody new that's probably the replacement that probably might even be in the office for $60,000 more. That's ridiculous, and that is well over the rate for a public sector person. Somebody working in government, that is way over that, especially for what they do in the
So
city.
let's see what the city council is gonna, but probably, probably it's somebody that city councils already know. It's probably a familiar face to the councilors. So guess what? And according to a couple of city councils like Leo and like Linda, is if you want water clean, you have to pay for it.
Yeah, well,
if you want good employees, you're going to have to pay for it.
Well, I do agree with the water thing, because we went on that tour. You know what I mean? So I don't think people should be getting paid $40,000 a year and be in charge of a water filtration plant. That's, you know what I mean? So we got to be realistic with some of these things, But yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
So yeah, I will be there today. It's going to be interesting. I want to see, like I always say, I like to be behind the cameras because I have 9 cameras to look at the same time. I have 9 faces to look at the same times, and sometimes their faces, we already know how they're going to vote. Yeah. And you have those that surprises you because they tell you this way, and then they cut it short and they go the other way.
And kind of what you said about the whole money, you know what I mean? You do hear people that'll vote against things, but then there are things they want. Well, those things cost money as well. So if you want to save money, you got to be in that with everything, not that just the things you want. So, you know what I mean? It's, anyway. So I think we're almost to
I
the end,
think
right?
we have a couple of minutes to
okay.
finish. Oh, we still have 3 minutes.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I thought you were gabbing here all that much. So yeah, you was talking about the council meeting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting tonight. I really want you to tell me about the HR director specifically, for sure on that. That should be pretty interesting.
For some reason, the last name, it's familiar. So that's why I'm curious to know if I know the person.
Yeah, one thing that was brought up, I remember at the last council meeting, they were talking about New Bedford with the trash. And I just wanted to bring up that right now, the city of Fall River, our tax rate's at $13.63. New Bedford's at $15.50. So with that, you know what I mean? They probably getting their trash free, but they're also paying more in taxes. I have a few relatives in New Bedford that are paying, we'll say we'll pay $3,200 here. They're paying $4,200 for a single family house.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference.
I contacted the José Andrade, my friend that it's the Secretary of the Communities in Ponta Delgada for the Azores government. And I asked them to put me in touch with the person in charge of trash in the island.
Yeah.
So I got the contacts. I'm going to set up a meeting, and I would like to bring them on TV on my Portuguese show to talk about how it's an island. Remember, it's an island.
Yeah.
How they work with the trash there, and everything is so clean. Yep. So it's going to be very interesting to hear from him how they work that out.
And, before we close, I mean, part of it is anybody that's Portuguese or you had your, and I'm just biased toward this, but, my great-grandmother, my grandmother, they were just meticulous on things. Same thing with my grandfather. His yard was immaculate. Yeah. So, and when you go to Portugal and you see, that's where that came from. You know what I mean? Where they came from, their country was spotless. So, it's a different culture as well.
Yeah. So with that done, it's another show. I see you guys next week. Thank you again, and see you next week.
Yep. Have a good night, folks.
Have a good night. So